No, I mean that seriously. So but before I start talking, think about what do you want to learn. So because otherwise, I'm just up there waving my arms and talking real fast. So anchor, what do you want to learn? All right, so take 10 seconds. What do you want to learn? All right, so now let's talk about lean, which I think is part of an influence on agile and DevOps and something like that. And as far as my history with lean, the reason for the bow tie is not to look like a doctor. I play one on TV. It's actually when I started studying Toyota many years ago, I wanted to dress up when I went to visit facilities, but I also wanted to be able to get into the work. And if you try to dress up with a tie and get into the work wearing a long tie, wraps on spinning things. Anyway, the bow tie was the compromise. So anyway, in terms of lean, you've all heard the term. Real quick, make a mental check. Here are things lean works for, and here are things lean doesn't work for. All right, again, take 5 seconds. All right, now let's move on to the next set of questions. Why lean? I mean, just to give you a sense of things, so last week I gave a talk at something called the Lean Construction Institute. Lean is part of your conversation. I'm giving a talk next week at a lean manufacturing event, and then after that, lean healthcare. So why the interest in lean? And let me just tie this down. You're allowed a one-word answer. All right, so why lean? Back there, white sweater, red shirt, I can't tell exactly. Yeah, I'm pointing right at you, about 10 rows back, slightly over. All right, the guy who raised his hand, why lean? All right, that's good. Over here, blue shirt, why lean? You who just looked up, why lean? Why do we talk about it so much? Louder. Quality. Efficiency, quality, efficiency, what else? Waste, quality, efficiency, waste. Anything else? Learning. All right, quality, efficiency, waste. All right, so let me just say that is part of the reason, but the one-word answer I was looking for is this, Toyota. That's why we talk about lean. And let's really qualify and quantify why we talk about lean because of Toyota. Because Toyota absolutely positively decimated its rivals in the U.S. auto market. Destroyed them. Right? I mean, until Toyota shows up in the 70s and then with a real presence in the 1980s, GM, Ford, and Chrysler, happy-go-lucky, la-da-da-da-da, doing what we do. And then Toyota shows up and we know the results. GM in bankruptcy, Chrysler in bankruptcy, and Ford stumble along. So let's just get some scale in terms of what it means to decimate one's rivals. So Toyota, you know when Toyota first came to the U.S. market? Call out a year. 78. Actually, 1958. The Toyo Pet. Anyone hear of a Toyo Pet? All right, good reason, because it stunk. All right, here's to add some qualification to what it means to stink as a car. If you're in a Toyo Pet and you need to get to the top of a hill, bearing in mind that Toyota's first U.S. market was here in California, if you need to get to the top of the hill, odds are better in reverse. All right, so imagine here, San Francisco, going home, Embarcadero, or whatever it is, trying to get home, drawing, and there's no guarantee. Right? This is just the odds are better. But anyway, now to add some quantification on the qualification of really stink. So when Toyota went to make a Toyo Pet, their productivity was 1/8 the world standard. So if it took 4 guys at Ford or 4 guys at General Motors to build a car, it took 32 at Toyota to build a worse car. All right, so that's 1958. 1962, and again, there's a reason the picture has the date has no picture. It's because after 1958, most people are not aware about Toyota products in the United States. But from 1958 to 1962, Toyota went from 1/8 as productive as the world standard to equal in productivity to the world standard. By 1968, they were twice as productive as the world standard. So the same 4 guys making a car at Ford or GM or Chrysler or Volkswagen, I don't know what they were doing at Volkswagen, Farfignuga, now I know what that means, right? Never knew, but now I knew. I mean, is it lie and cheat and steal? Wait till I get going on General Motors, if you're growing it now. All right. So for the same 4 guys making a car at Chrysler, Ford, General Motors, or anywhere else, it's 2 guys at Toyota. And then Toyota comes back to the U.S. market in 1973. And I think that's when most of you said, they came here in the early 70s. So Toyota shows up with a car in the 1970s, and it does something incredible. First of all, it's really affordable, and that's the consequence of half the guys making twice the product. You don't have to charge as much for the same car. But the other thing is it's wickedly reliable. So those of you who are old enough to remember this, that before Toyota showed up, the assumption was that if you bought a car, you found a mechanic for it. And if you knew someone who owned a car, you knew where they parked the car based on the stains of leaks in their driveway. And Toyota shows up with a car, and it goes something like this. You buy a car, and if you keep replacing the gas, it continues to run. The American auto driver had no idea about that concept. Well, I just put gas in, it keeps going. And again, just to anchor this, when Toyota first advertised their car around this value proposition of affordable reliability, the ads went something like this. Guy'd say, oh, this is my Toyota. I drove it 50,000 miles. And then those guys, wow, he must take impeccable drive only in the sun. And then someone would show up with the car. I've been driving 75,000 miles. And it's like, oh, that's incredibly lucky. They got the luck of it. And then the next one would be the 100,000-mile car. And then the guy would come in with his 200,000-mile car and have a little mud and a little dent on it to show its age. And at that point, and for those of you too young to realize this, you have to actually stand up and turn off the TV. But you turn it off in anger. It's, they're lying to me. 200,000 miles, that's impossible. But anyway, it turned out to be possible. So that's 1973, wickedly affordable reliability. 1985, and this is when people started to really pay attention to Toyota, they realized Toyota was updating its product on a 2-year clip rather than 4 years for everybody else. So think about this. You're going to buy a car, and you walk into a Ford dealership, and you look at the Taurus, which is the prime mid-market car at the time. You look at the Ford Taurus, and it could be a 4-year-old product. Now, again, raise your hands if you want to go out and buy something 4 years old, a computer, iPhone, whatever else it is. You walk into the Toyota dealer, and even if at the very, very, very end of the model run, it's only 2 years old. All right? End of the Ford Taurus. And then through the mid-'80s, through the mid-'90s, Toyota has this huge, huge expansion of domestic manufacturing capacity. So this is what absolutely devastate your competition looks like, and this is not the end of it. All right, so then we know Toyota's been wickedly successful on the Lexus. Again, 1989, there were no Lexus. 1991, it is the best-selling luxury brand in the country. Scion, absolutely dominant in getting the 20-somethings. But let's talk about introducing new technology. All right, so here's the thing. You guys introduce new technology all the time. Now, very often, you will be introducing a new technology to solve a problem that other people have identified. And so the competition is getting to the better answer faster. And so in the case of emissions and fuel economy, Toyota and General Motors and the rest of the auto industry, they saw exactly the same problem. And they arrived at exactly the same solution. So the solution they came to was hybrid. So you put a smaller internal combustion engine under the hood, pair it with an electric motor, overlay some kind of software and energy management on that, and you get much lower emissions and twice the fuel economy. Same problem, same answer. Now here's the thing. Toyota got to the right answer faster and continued to update its answer much faster than General Motors. And again, to scale this, so since the introduction of hybrid, General Motors has sold approximately plus or minus 70,000 copies of the Chevy Volt. In exactly the same period, Toyota has sold nearly 7 million on 21 different platforms in 6 generations. Again, think about this. You and I are trying to solve the same problem. My answer gets a penny, your answer gets $1. That's what we're talking about in terms of the ability to utterly decimate the competition, why we talk about Toyota in the background implicit to the conversation about lean. It's something about bringing value to market much, much faster than anybody else has the capacity. So anyway, this, I promise, is my last slide. All right, here's your homework. Be the admiral. Be the admiral. If you really want to deliver more value to market faster than anybody else, you got to do what Admiral Rickover set in place with the nuclear navy. You have to pick your work and predict what you think is going to happen and then test real-time what's going wrong. When you find out it's going wrong, you have to chase the burnt cake. Don't throw it away. That's the investment. The cake that's good, what the hell? That just confirmed everything you already know. You got to explain the burnt cake. And for your homework, you don't have to spread this, but here's the other thing. As you try to predict what's going to happen, test to find out where you're wrong and explain wrong. Do it with somebody else. You can't do it all by yourself. And if you really want an organization which has this extraordinary velocity in learning and consequently this incredible game-changing performance, you got to teach others how to do this too. So that's your homework for this coming next week after the conference. Find something critical. Predict how you think it's going to work. At 5:05, predict the results of the 5:15 meeting. Find out why you were wrong and make sure you do this with someone all the time. Admiral Rickover was important. He raised his hand in front of everybody else. So anyway, that's my story. Thank you very much. Go Pats.